ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of The Cage Show. And on this episode, folks, we're going to be talking about the plausibility of there being or not being a civil war. You know, a lot of people have been talking, whispering about, man, will this next election, with its uncertainty, with its outcome, will it produce a civil war? Well, let's examine how plausible that is, folks. Okay, so sit back, relax, and let's do this. Common sense talk right here. I'm going to be reading from my monitor here, folks, and forgive my makeshift studio. You know, what can I say, you know? Blame it on Corona. Anyways, check this out. Will there or will there not be another civil war in America? And if so, how would it play out? And who would benefit from it, huh? Who would benefit? And what would the teams or sides be? You know, how would they be composed of? It'd be who against who. Many white and black nationalists automatically think it would be a color or race war, black against white. But to me, nothing could be further from reality, in that there's not enough people on either side of that argument, of either color, who have enough raw hatred in their hearts to just blindly shoot another simply due to their color. You'd have to be borderline insane or full out insane to carry out such attacks, folks. And that's just the reality of it. Most people aren't. We're not monsters on the inside, you know? Unless you're a homicidal maniac or something, most people just don't have it in them to just hate one, let alone kill another individual simply because they're of a different color or ethnicity or national origin or whatever. All right? So let's scroll on down here. Truth is, folks, not all black people hate whites enough to just blindly kill them for some quote-unquote cause. And not enough white people blindly hate those who they deem as black, to blindly shoot and kill just for a cause. The majority of people in society have just moved beyond that type of thinking, folks. You know what I'm saying? It's not the 1940s or 20s or even the 50s or 60s anymore, you know? It's kind of hard for, let's say, a white nationalist to tell his daughter or son that Bobby is your enemy when they sitting there going to the movies together, playing video games together, you know, hanging out on the playground, whatever, you know. So that generational hatred simply due to color, yeah, it's still there, but it's not there enough to make the majority of people want to act out on it in a violent way. Okay, it's one thing to be a bigot or a racial bigot behind, you know, closed doors or whatever. It's another thing to act on that bigotry in a violent way. And I just don't think there's enough people in today's society willing to just pick up arms and just blindly start shooting at other people that are a different color than them. All right, let's continue. Like that. But what about the very large Hispanic population, or Native American population, or Middle Eastern population, Asian population, and so forth? Do you think they'd all just stand by idly while this went down? Now, I don't know what it is about the media, folks, but they still love to frame America always black and white. But they seem to leave out the other spectrum of people that are here and that have been here. Like Asian Americans, you know, the Chinese Americans, Japanese Americans, Indians, Native Americans, you know, Cubans, the whole Hispanic population, Mexicans, immigrants from Africa, Somalia, you know, it goes on and on. What about them? You think they're going to just stand by idly and watch black and white people destroy each other? I doubt it, folks. Not only that, but a more realistic scenario would be that major international nations who already have a large stake, fiscal stake in America, would step in and either mediate and or just take control themselves. Take advantage of the carnage and simply move in and take control of large swaths of territory and declare those territories colonial territory. How ironic would that be, folks? You know what I'm saying? How ironic would that be? But I think that's the more plausible outcome if there was a civil war. The Chinese, Russia, Mexico, maybe even Canada and others would simply move into the States and carve it up like the Europeans did to Africa centuries ago. You know, China would take this area, Okay, Russia, y'all can have that area. You know, Canada would swoop down, take this. You know, Mexico would come up. They're not going to just sit by, folks, and allow, because see, in 2020, all those other nations have too much invested in America, in our banks, in our financial institutions, in our colleges, in our infrastructure. So they're not going to just stand by, folks, and sit idly as Americans, destroy everything, because half of it's theirs. What, doesn't China own like most of our bonds or something? They own our money or something. You see what I'm saying? So it's not going to happen, folks. And I'm sorry, but militias just aren't no match against international militaries. I mean, I guess one scenario could play like Red Dawn. You may have a few militias holding out like the Afghan of Afghanistan up in the hills of Virginia, Montana. But what's the point of that? They're going to be cut off from all the resources, But anyways, let's continue, folks. Alliances simply built on the color of another's skin or ethnic origins just don't really work in this day and age. Most people just aren't conditioned to think that way anymore. Other than maybe China or Japan or other nations where identity is merged in with ethnicity. But in the West, the majority of people have stopped thinking that way decades ago. And those who do are either dead or old and or dying. They're on their way out, folks. So to sum this up, in my observed opinion, a out and right battlefield type of civil war where Americans are fighting and shooting at other Americans for territory is just not likely at all. Especially with the world watching now. I mean, you got social media, YouTube. Think of all the cell phone images people will be clicking, hey, come help us. We got a lot of immigrants in this country. They be texting them, their home, hey, come help us, man, or, this city is falling apart, and they'd, like I say, folks, more than likely other nations would send in their own military, including Iran, including our enemies, and they would take advantage of an American social meltdown. They wouldn't just stand by and let it happen. They'd swoop in, and like I said, they'd carve America up into territories, just like the Europeans did to Africa. Just not happening, folks. Old-fashioned 1800 type of civil war is just not happening today. I'm sorry to disappoint some of y'all militia type. And you can't even leave out like large crime organizations like the cartel, the mafia, and other, like the Russian mafia. You think they're probably salivating for something like this to happen, folks. You know what I'm saying? And they'd be licking their chops to also move in on the chaos and spread their narco state politics into the Southwest by corrupting all police departments and city administrators and judges. That definitely could happen also. All right? And in closing, I just want to say this. I also think if the Constitution were ever destroyed or messed with, I think blacks in America would probably stand to lose the most. And that it's about the only constitution in the world that guarantees equal rights under the law for everyone, regardless of color, creed, orientation, and yada, yada, yada. Probably also like LGBTQ community, man. A lot of people depend on the American Constitution and the Bill of Rights to, inject dignity into our lives that other nations don't recognize. Okay, and it's all kind of wrapped up in the Bill of Rights, and the Constitution and the amendments and all that. That document needs to be guarded, folks. But anyways, like I was saying, it is my belief that blacks would once again be given the global status of being at the bottom of all others by default. You look at how other nations run themselves, and the status usually in most other countries, the darker you are, the lower you are. I mean, and the social status of things, unless you're just rich like Osama bin Laden. He was pretty dark, man, for an Arab, but he also had money. And money, shoot. If you got money, you got status, but most people don't have that kind of money, So, and with that, folks, we're going to wrap up this segment on the plausibility of a new civil war. And if you contest or disagree with anything I say or share it or any of my sentiment, then feel free to leave a comment below, or share this video. I'm also going to make a podcast of it as well. And, chime in, folks. This ain't Twitter. Everybody's allowed to have an opinion on my platforms. Whether it be Blog Talk, whether it be Paranormal Saturday, whether it be globalinsanity.earth or any other platform I used to share information with, So if you would like to chime in, please do. And if you like the video, please do spread. And with that, we are out. Thank you for tuning in to The Cage Show.